The Arabic name Salma Hayek means calm. Her life hasn't been like that, however. It's a succession of struggles against discrimination, against exclusion, and for self-confidence in a glamorous but closed-off Hollywood. Salma has evolved into more than just a beauty symbol because to her work on cinema, her involvement in the Me Too movement, and her support of women's rights, she is among the world's most powerful women. Her transformation from a disobedient Mexican child to Marvel's Ajak is evidence of her tenacity and unwavering character. And this film will show you that underneath all that glitz are secrets that few people know, shocking facts, and a Salma Hayek you may never have had the opportunity to fully comprehend. Salma Hayek, born in 1966 in Mexico, was raised in a middle-class home with a rich cultural history and access to high-quality education. Her Arabic name, meaning peace or tranquilly, contrasts sharply with her defiant, unruly nature from an early age. Her grandma, Maria Louisa Lopez, left a lasting impression on her, which influenced her numerous life choices. Salma moved to the United States at 12 to attend the Academy of the Sacred Heart, but was compelled to return to Mexico due to her stubbornness and imagination. Salma battled two severe diagnoses, dyslexia and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, which progressively served as motivation, encouraging her to adopt a new perspective, learn via visuals, and form a strong emotional connection with characters. In her 20s, Salma defied destiny and left her native country to enter the glitzy yet discriminatory world of Hollywood. She excelled academically at Universidad Iberoamericana and pursued a degree in international relations before studying acting. However, Salma only took front stage a year later. She rose to national fame in 1989 as the lead in the television drama Teresa. Her innocent but crafty persona enthralled Mexican viewers. Salma was a growing celebrity at the age of 22, and the media, TV stations, and marketers were all after her. However, just when everyone believed she had arrived, Salma discreetly packed her luggage and decided to go to the U.S. instead. It started when she took a brief vacation to Los Angeles in the early 1990s. However, she was drawn to Hollywood like a magnet. Salma had a terrible realization after speaking with friends in the industry. Mexican film at the time was stagnant, and young actors had limited prospects to pursue significant careers. She had to go if she really wanted to pursue her passion for art and filmmaking. In order to start afresh, she voluntarily gave up her celebrity back home and remained in the United States. But there was a price for that choice. It was more than a simple geographic shift. It was a contentious departure from both the business she previously blazed a trail in and her growing star position. The Mexican media reacted negatively when Salma declared her intention to pursue a career in cinema in Hollywood. She was branded by certain tabloids as a traitor to Mexican entertainment, someone who was pursuing foreign illusions and Americanizing herself. Because she dared to go beyond the boundaries set for her, she was even once judged unfit to embody classic Latin beauty. However, Salma was not greeted with wide arms in the United States. Rather, she was confined by discrimination, a limited command of English, a distinctively Latin appearance, and an unknown name. "Are you here to play the maid?" was a direct question thrown at a lady who had previously led Mexico's TV ratings during early tryouts. She was seen as a sellout back home. She was seen as an outcast in Hollywood. What was her place? Not at all. But instead of snapping or playing the victim, Salma decided to quietly improve herself. Her Latin heritage was not rejected. She was adamant about showing the world that Mexican women were more than simply supporting actors. She gradually built out a position for herself from that same area of solitude, one that no one could take away or give. Salma received instruction from the renowned acting instructor Stella Adler, who had worked with Robert De Niro and Marlon Brando. Salma had to contend with her dyslexia, the language barrier, and her ADHD diagnoses in secret, in contrast to her peers who received instruction in their mother tongue. Not only was she memorizing lines, but she was also learning how to conquer herself. "I was afraid people would think I was only famous because I made money for others. I was afraid I was actually a terrible actress," Salma once said. However, it was precisely this fear that kept her going and allowed her to survive Hollywood day by day. With a message in her heart, "I didn't come here to play a supporting part in anyone's narrative." Salma, the lost Princess Jasmine from that children's play, was now a silent warrior banging on the doors of American film. Opportunities were never given to Salma Hayek. She had to battle for every part and every second of her time on television. Desperado was the first pivotal moment in her life. She was cast by filmmaker Robert Rodriguez in 1995 as Carolina, Antonio Banderas's acerbic, seductive love interest in El Mariachi. Although it was Salma's first major part in a Hollywood movie, the chance almost cost her everything. The personal moment between the two protagonists, a crucial sequence, was not included in the original screenplay. During the audition process, Columbia Pictures saw how well Salma and Banderas got along and demanded that Rodriguez include the moment. Startled, Salma resisted. She declined right away since she had never recorded a sex scene before, but Hollywood doesn't give in to sentimentality. Salma was informed that the scenario was required. Rodriguez made an effort to comfort her. Salma continued crying, but Banderas was understanding. She was unable to behave normally and remove her towel. It was meant to be a 1-hour session, but she said, "I just kept crying. Every time I tried to remove the towel, I burst into tears. Not because I was ashamed of my body, but because I was terrified. Terrified of losing control." Salma believed she would lose her job. Rodriguez chose a different approach, shooting in brief segments that would be assembled afterward. Although the outcome was sensuous, the actress who produced it was emotionally spent from stress and moral dilemma. Rodriguez subsequently acknowledged that the mental pain Salma had to go through made it the most challenging sequence in the movie, not because of any technical issues. In addition to the stress of shooting a graphic sequence, Salma struggled with linguistic and cultural obstacles. She was still the foreigner amid the Hollywood-style production environment, even though the filming took place in Ciudad Acuna, Mexico. Salma was struggling with Desperado, not simply playing the part. She was forced to start again after becoming a Mexican TV sensation. She had to be taught how to regain her voice in a system that was not designed with her in mind. With his success, Desperado gave Salma her first legitimate Hollywood entrance. Behind the action scenes and Carolina's intense stare, however, was a lady who had to face the brutal expectations of a whole sector. A second challenge soon followed Desperado, and this time, it had Salma confront her worst fear. She portrayed Satanico Pandemonium, the head dancer of a vampire club, in the 1996 film From Dusk Till Dawn. She had to dance as a real snake was coiled around her in a crucial sequence. Nobody was aware of Salma's debilitating snake phobia. She panicked at the sight of one. When she accepted the part, she was not told about the scenario. The alteration was made at the last minute. She protested and requested an alternative once the contract was signed. No preparation time, no stunt double. The screenwriter and her co-star, Quentin Tarantino, answered bluntly, "If you don't do it, we'll replace you." With just the 2-meter snake writhing over her shoulders and no preparation, Salma had to take the stage. She shivered as she danced, her gaze focused on the reptile's every action. It was a woman's survival instinct to push herself to complete the task, even if she was terrified. However, all that was seen on video was a chilly, alluring dancer in complete control. That moment swiftly rose to fame in popular culture. In order to provide a performance that most people believed was unachievable, Salma had conquered a very personal fear. She gained unprecedented recognition in Hollywood as a result of the role. The term new sex symbol was applied to her, although she never accepted it. Salma famously remarked, "I don't mind being called sexy, but if that's all they see in me, then it's not worth what I've sacrificed." The snake dance revealed not only Hollywood's shallow perception of Latin actresses, but also her true strength, a woman who was afraid but never gave up and had nowhere to run to. Moments like this led Salma Hayek to redefine beauty as the limits you're prepared to break in order to be recognized for who you really are, rather than as something in the body. Salma gradually established herself with Fool's Rush with Dogma and Wild Wild West, but these films served just as a prelude to her greatest passion project, Frida. Frida was more than simply a biopic for Salma Hayek. Bringing the life of famous painter Frida Kahlo to the big screen took 8 years. A path paved with obstacles, suffering, and unwavering fortitude. Hayek has been working on the project since 1994. She wasn't just interested in taking the lead. She wanted to oversee the story, develop it, and pay the utmost respect to Frida's legacy. She personally persuaded Alfred Molina to portray Diego Rivera, found director Julie Taymor, negotiated for studio finance, and obtained the rights to utilize Kahlo's artwork from Dolores Olmedo. However, Hayek had to deal with Harvey Weinstein once the movie was accepted to Miramax. She described how Weinstein removed her from events, yelled at her, and placed absurd demands on her in order to keep the project going, in addition to demanding sex in a very personal opinion piece for the New York Times. He once even said, "I will kill you. Don't think I can't," as a threat to her life. His sexual approaches, such as demands for group showers, massages, or nude scenes with others, were consistently turned down by Hayek throughout filming. When she refused, Weinstein punished by making her rework the screenplay, find around $10 million in finance, hire an A-list cast and director, and do all of this for free. He was not finished even after obeying. It was never in the screenplay, but he insisted that she have a completely naked sex scene with another lady. Hayek had a meltdown on the day of the shoot. She required tranquilizers to get through it, and she vomited and convulsed. She said, "It wasn't sexy, but it was the only way I could finish the scene." Hayek completed the movie in spite of the oppressive demands and misuse of authority. With $25.9 million in North America and $30.4 million elsewhere, Frida made almost $56.3 million globally. Despite having a production expenditure of over $12 million, the movie made more than 4.7 times its price. Frida showed her enduring popularity by expanding to 794 screens and maintaining an average run of 8.2 weeks per site, despite its modest start of $25,996 in only 5 theaters. It brought in around $3.59 million in Mexico, demonstrating the enthusiastic reception it received from Frida Kahlo and Salma Hayek's local audiences. Frida became the first Mexican woman to be nominated for an Academy Award in 50 years after receiving 6 nods, including one for Best Actress for Hayek. "I hope that by sharing my story alongside others, people will understand why it was so hard and why we waited so long," she said in her post. "Men harass because they can. Women are speaking out today because finally we can." Previously, there was no place for voices like Salma Hayek in the world, but Frida's tale became a proclamation of art, feminism, and the strength of perseverance. Salma's career stopped being a survival tale after that. It turned into a narrative of choosing. She experimented with comedy, drama, and producing before moving on to action blockbusters like The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. Her most audacious role in recent years, however, was in the Marvel movie Eternals 2021, in which she played one of the first superheroes, Ajak. It wasn't simply another job. At the age of 55, Salma wore a superhero headgear for the first time, representing a population that Hollywood has traditionally left out of these kinds of stories: people of Mexican descent. "This is the moment I feel proud to be who I am, to be Latin, to be a woman, to be someone once rejected for all those reasons," Salma said. Salma Hayek was no longer only an Oscar-nominated actress after Frida. She became a producer and advocate for forgotten tales in Hollywood, broadening her position. She established Ventana Rosa, a production firm that supports TV and film initiatives that support underrepresented populations, women, and Latinos. She kept shining on screen in films like Savages, Ask the Dust, Once Upon a Time in Mexico, The Grown-Ups Comedy, and both of The Hitman's Bodyguard. She became the first Latina superhero to appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2021 when she played Ajak in Eternals. She said, "I'm not doing this just for me." She also became a popular voice in animated successes like Puss in Boots and the Pirates, Band of Misfits, demonstrating her versatility and enduring appeal. "I'm doing it for every community Hollywood has ignored for years." In addition to her work in films, she was included as one of People's 50 Most Beautiful People in 1996, 2003, and 2008. She was included in Time magazine's list of the 100 Most Important People, and in 2012, French President Nicolas Sarkozy gave her the Légion d'honneur as a permanent reminder of her transformation from an outsider to a name ingrained in the film business. Salma was awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2021. Salma Hayek struggled with loneliness, uncertainty, and unfulfilled relationships for many years before she and her present spouse were able to find peace. Despite being a well-known movie actress, she had a quiet existence and often avoided discussing her romantic relationships, not because she was timid, but rather because of prior traumas. In 1997, British actor Edward Atherton, her first well-known lover, traveled to Los Angeles to live with her. After 2 years of dating, they parted ways peacefully. Despite their breakup, they remained close friends, and Adderton later said, "Salma is a very busy woman, but we've always kept in touch whenever we could." A tender start to a romantic voyage that would turn out to be everything but easy. Salma soon began seeing Edward Norton, an actor and film producer she met via a mutual chiropractor, in a more well-publicized relationship. From 1999 to 2003, they were together and often attended athletic events and movie premieres together without speaking to the media. A young co-star of Salma's in Spy Kids 3D unintentionally exposed their split, signaling the end of a very emotional connection. Salma once said, "We did thousands of things, and no one knew. It was like I had a parallel life that the media never saw." She then started dating Josh Lucas, an actor from Sweet Home Alabama, in 2003. Due to the difficulties of shooting across continents, the romance ended after roughly a year. Lucas said in an interview with GQ, "When both people are working, distance becomes an issue. Salma was in South Africa, I was in Australia. We broke up because we couldn't be together." Despite being covert, these relationships had a profound effect on Salma. She once said, "I love the wrong people. When you're lonely for too long, you start seeing good in people who aren't right for you." She became more careful and guarded in her love life as a result of her loneliness, her mistakes, and the feeling that no one really understood her. She also learned to heal herself from those traumas before confiding in François-Henri Pinault, the man who would be her last. When Salma met French millionaire François-Henri Pinault in 2006, she had all her concerns about love changed. He was the head of the Kering Group, one of the most influential brands in luxury fashion worldwide. This love developed gradually, maturely, and between two individuals who were experienced enough to not conceal anything, in contrast to her previous relationships. But even intense love has its share of difficulties. Salma announced her pregnancy in 2007. In September of the same year, at the age of 41, she gave birth to a daughter, Valentina Paloma. She used to think that a late pregnancy was impossible. Salma also described Valentina as the late-arriving miracle I'm thankful for every day. But in July 2008, when everyone was anticipating a lavish wedding, Salma abruptly declared that the engagement was over. Nobody was aware of the real cause. Some attributed it to lifestyle changes, while others blamed media pressure. However, only 7 months later, on Valentine's Day 2009, they were secretly married in Paris at the little municipal hall in the 6th arrondissement. A surprising, straightforward, and oddly personal choice. After Valentina, Salma was unable to have any more children, so she decided to establish a large family in a different way. She raised Pinault's 3 children from past marriages as her own, treating them all equally and with respect. Motherhood isn't about biology, in her opinion. It's about choosing to love every day. Salma Hayek is still a woman motivated by intelligence, intuition, and an unwavering sense of independence despite her glitzy exterior. Despite being married to a millionaire, she manages her own money, has no prenuptial agreement, and feels obligated to generate money. Salma once said she loves her husband, François-Henri Pinault, because he respects her independence while fostering and supporting her hobbies. Salma said in a WSJ interview, "I like that pressure, and now I've decided I want to earn even more." She also mentioned that Pinault finds her work ethic seductive and very admirable. Salma has never held back from acknowledging that, even though she lives in luxury, she finds it annoying because people often want to befriend her based only on her income. She still posts candid and straightforward family images, wedding portraits, and ordinary moments on Instagram. In April 2024, she wrote on her 15th wedding anniversary, "There are no words to express the happiness of finding your other half. To those who haven't found it, never stop believing. To those who have, never take it for granted." Salma is kind but yet firm with her daughter Valentina. In an attempt to teach her daughter to wait for the perfect opportunity and to hope for things, she once forbade her from having a phone, even though all of her friends had one. She does, however, let Valentina grow into her own person and is now fostering business ventures with her adolescent daughter. Fairy tale romances are not Salma Hayek's world. However, when she falls in love, she does it as a mature lady, bold enough to remain when she thinks she's met the perfect person, but ready to go when called upon. Salma is an example of love with grit, happiness based on responsibility, and a daily conscious decision. She is a late-blooming mother, an independent wife, and a woman who has never sought for permission. In retrospect, there haven't been many significant controversies in Salma Hayek's life. However, her public life and profession have endured significant conflicts, each of which has exposed her values, boundaries, and the harsh realities that a well-known woman must deal with. Salma Hayek was one of the bravest voices in the Me Too movement that stormed through Hollywood in 2017 when she spoke out against producer Harvey Weinstein. She disclosed in a compelling piece that appeared in the New York Times that Weinstein had threatened to murder her when she was turned down, in addition to frequently requesting sexual favors. Salma was forced to do a completely naked sequence with another actress during the filming of Frida, which was not originally planned. She spoke of being physically and psychologically pushed to the limit, requiring tranquilizers and throwing up due to the stress. She said that the most painful thing was that no one wanted to hear my story anymore because I was nobody. Nevertheless, she eventually shared her tale and contributed to a significant cultural change in Hollywood. But activism wasn't the cause of every controversy. A video of a heated disagreement between Salma Hayek and Nicole Kidman during a Balenciaga fashion presentation went viral in 2024. Nicole didn't seem to want to pose for a picture with Salma. Although sources close to both sides maintained it was a temporary misunderstanding and that their relationship remained intact, rumors of a falling out circulated. Salma's silence, on the other hand, has sometimes come under fire. A contentious advertising campaign featuring children was unveiled in 2022 by the luxury brand Balenciaga, which is a part of the Kering Group, which is headed by her husband. Despite their association with the firm, François-Henri Pinault and Salma did not publicly address the public. Some members of the public criticized their silence, particularly considering their standing as social cause champions. Salma previously encountered criticism at the 2017 Sundance Film Festival when it was said that she had interrupted Black actress Jessica Williams during a panel discussion on racial and gender inequity. Later, Salma apologized, acknowledging that her remarks had been misinterpreted and regretting that the discussion had veered off topic. Even after overcoming adversity, Salma Hayek is still considered one of Hollywood's most morally upright performers. She often speaks up for justice, promotes Latina women, and defends women's rights using her position and notoriety. From another perspective, these disputes demonstrate that Salma doesn't shy away from complexity. Honor, bravery, and her own voice lead her into it. One of the trailblazers that elevated Latina women in the American film business was Salma Hayek. She overcame prejudices related to language, looks, and background. She changed the way Latin performers, particularly women, are treated in Hollywood. Her depiction of Frida Kahlo was a significant cultural turning point, in addition to making her the first Mexican actress nominated for an Oscar for Best Actress in over 50 years. In a movie about her own ancestry, a Latina woman appeared in front of and behind the camera for the first time. Frida's gender, political, and sexual problems were not softened by the movie, nor was the topic glamorized or the facts sanitized. Off-screen, Salma is a co-founder of Chime for Change, a group that works with UNICEF and other international organizations to advance women's and girls' rights globally. Campaigns for public health, education for underserved areas in developing nations, and gender equality are linked to her name. Salma was among the first well-known celebrities to openly accuse Harvey Weinstein of sexual harassment in 2017, at the height of the Me Too movement. She revealed the evil side of unbridled power and the industry's long-standing culture of silence, in addition to sharing her personal tale in excruciating detail. Dozens of other women found courage in her statements, which sparked a chain reaction that led to legislative improvements that protected women working in cinema. In her private life, Salma sticks to her principles: no hair color to cover up aging, no cosmetic surgery, and no pursuit of socially prescribed beauty standards. With more than 20 million followers on social media, she affirms the freedom to select one's physique, lifestyle, and route to adulthood, rather than using her picture for show. In 2021, she received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame in recognition of her services. She was also listed as one of the 100 most important persons in the world by Time magazine in 2023. These honors demonstrate the societal influence she has and go beyond a simple reference to her cinematic work. Salma Hayek is more than just a cultural icon. She exemplifies how women of all ages and backgrounds can redefine expectations if they have the guts to challenge them. Salma Hayek, 58, dances with time rather than escaping it. She portrays a widowed businesswoman who boldly enters the erotic realm of male dancers in Magic Mike's Last Dance, 2023. The movie perfectly captures her true life, a lady who was once written off by Hollywood as being beyond her prime, now shown as the main character, beautiful, sexy, and in charge. Salma, who was no longer shaking like the day she shot that romantic moment in Desperado, collaborated with Channing Tatum to demonstrate that energy and passion remain timeless rather than to appease the eyes of the public. She keeps up a strong social media presence. Salma, who has more than 20 million Instagram followers, posts unprocessed glimpses of her life, including selfies without makeup, unprocessed bikini pictures, and natural gray hair. No concealing or gimmicks. Her famous quote, "I don't post bikini photos unless I feel good in my body that day," inspires millions of women to feel the same way. Even though she has every material luxury and is married to a millionaire, Salma Hayek maintains her staunch independence on both a financial and spiritual level. "We didn't sign a prenup," she said, "but I still feel the pressure to earn, and I like it." Independence doesn't mean separation to her. It is about coming into love as a whole person. François-Henri Pinault understands that. "He finds my work ethic sexy," Salma says with a grin. Rather of going to the gym, she meditates. No concealing her gray hair, no Botox. She is neither a pushover nor a rigid conservative, and she has a 17-year-old daughter named Valentina. "I didn't let her have a phone early. Kids need to learn how to dream before they're handed everything." Mother and daughter are even coming up with ideas for joint enterprises today, not only as a family, but as two women advancing together. Salma Hayek has nothing more to prove today. The world, however, sees her most clearly now that she has stopped trying to impress other people, as a self-assured, composed lady who is nevertheless passionately passionate. Even though her husband is the tycoon behind Gucci and Balenciaga, Salma Hayek has never lived in a man's shadow. She takes satisfaction in being motivated, independent, and creative well into her 50s and makes her own money and handles her own finances. She is not in need of rescue. Without inflating her age or trying to fit in with anyone's ideal of beauty, she is the one who has endured some of the most difficult struggles and is still tall, radiant, and proud. Does independence still feel like a luxury in a society where women are still defined by the status of the men who stand by them? Post your comments below. Additionally, please like, subscribe, and enable alerts if you think this is how Salma's story should be portrayed. The tales that follow will be equally impactful, and maybe they will cause you to reconsider your own.